When it comes to pro-level controllers, the usual suspects are Microsoft, Sony and Nintendo. Maybe the Xbox Elite 2 and the soon-to-be-released DualSense Edge for the PlayStation 5. But far away in China, Flydigi claims to make the best controllers for pros with a lot of quality and unique features. And to see how they compete, we will test the Flydigi Apex 2, a controller that does things that we have never seen. Will it be enough? Welcome back, I'm Claudio and this is Zero to Tech. It's not new, but many have asked me to try it, and I'm glad they did. It's unique, it has features that not even the Apex 3 has. It's so different, I'm sure it does not come to replace it. The first thing that catches the eye is the size of the box. Pretty big. With a picture of the controller on front, it's clearly a premium product, and the quality keeps coming when you open the box, because the controller comes inside its case, same as the Xbox Elite 2. When we take it out, we can find the manual, which is translated to English. Then open the case to find the controller, which fits perfectly even with the clip-on. It also comes with a very nice A to C cable, quite long and braided, even with velcro to tie it up. It also includes 4 additional sticks with different lengths. Finally, the controller, which looks and feels pretty good. At first glance, it's clearly different. The design is based on the Xbox controller, but there are significant changes. The most obvious are the 6 front buttons. In addition to A, B, X and Y, it has C and Z. Although, the position is strange. It reminded us of the black and white buttons on the OG Xbox controller. It also has 3 function buttons at the bottom center, pairing, the home button and the return button, which is rare to see in controllers. Above, we can see the USB-C port, RB, LB, RT and LT buttons. The last 2, even when they look to be analog, like the Xbox ones, they are not. And it includes 2 additional buttons marked as M5 and M6. On the back, we find the additional ones, from M1 to M4. The first 2 are in a position common for programmable buttons, but the other 2 are on the back, which is a weird position but works. Additionally, we have the power switch. Also, the handles are covered with rubber to improve grip. Going back to the front buttons, we can see that X, Y and B are sort of separated, which is the biggest trick of this controller. In addition of being normal buttons, they can be dragged. We can remove the control cover to find, well, first the 2.4 GHz adapter, but that's not what I'm going for. We can also remove the ring that runs X, Y and B, and you can store it by removing the cover on the left side. This releases the buttons to slide. We will talk later what is it for. The phone clips feels good. It's made of very hard plastic, and it uses the ladder design which is better to balance the phone over it. The joints do not lock with screws like the ones we have seen. They are strong and stay in the position you put them in, but who knows how long they last. The part that grips the phone is protected with rubber not to scratch it, and once on, the shape prevents the buttons from being pressed. Overall great, and you can remove it if you don't play on the phone. Let's check the long sticks. It includes 2 additional pairs with different lengths that you can combine. Taking them off and putting them on, it's easy. It's a matter of pulling them out and then lining them up so they clip to the controller. It also includes RGB, you know, for more frames. You can change between different modes by pressing the pair and the return button at the same time. And for more customization, you can use the app. Well, talking about the Apex 2 is talking about its many features. And since there are so many, let's go through the most common ones first. It has a 650 mAh power battery that lasts more or less 40 hours of play, but goes down to 32 if you use the RGB at maximum brightness. You can use it with Bluetooth, the 2.4 wireless adapter or wired, and it has a mapping mode for Android. To put it on Bluetooth, press the P button and the pairing button for 3 seconds. The same for 2.4 but with the A button. And since it's a controller advertised for Android and Windows, and what we can do in each one is so different, we are going to check them separately, starting with Android. First with Bluetooth. If we just pair it, it does nothing. It does not appear as a controller in the gamepad tester. For it to work, we need to download the Apex Flydigi App Center from the App Store. Here we can see that the default mode is called Flash Play. In Android, you must use this mode to have access to the gyroscope and the sliding buttons. To use it, you have to give permissions to the app common in these applications. You enable developer options, USB debugging, and connect using wireless debugging, same as Mantis. This only works with Android 11 or newer. If you have an older version, you have other options such as a USB adapter that is sold separately, or a Windows application. Once activated, you can start the games that it detects, and it automatically loads the default profiles. If there isn't one, you can also add the game. And for games that have controller support, you can switch to classic mode. You can do this on the controller configuration, or if you add a game to the app, you can select in which mode will it work. When you change mode, you get messages indicating that you must pair again, but it's a matter of selecting pair right there and it connects again. In classic mode, the gamepad tester reads it as a regular controller. It even detects the additional buttons and shows you the function number. By the way, the app mentions that some phones with MediaTek processors only works in this mode, but in the Poco M4 it did work. Additionally, the app also lets you update the firmware, and it has a test screen where you can check all the buttons, sticks, the sliding ones, and the gyroscope. The last feature of the app is called Space Station, and allows you to control the RGB modes of the controller. You can use it to change the colors, brightness, speed in the color changing modes, or just turn it off. Now, in Android, the most important features only works in mapping mode, so let's check them out, starting with Genshin Impact. It loads a default profile, but before loading, you get a notice saying that it's not optimized for this resolution. Some buttons were misaligned, but it was a matter of adjusting them. Then it worked perfectly. With so many buttons, you have access to everything, and it's not a problem to play. Everything worked fine. Even aiming and shooting that you normally do in the same button works perfectly with the two triggers. Besides menu navigation, it feels like native support. The next one to try was Call of Duty, and I was very surprised. It works amazingly well. By far the best mapping app I've ever used. The way that it simulates the right finger tracking and the stick sensitivity makes it perfect. By mistake, I changed a setting and thought there was a problem with the aiming trigger, but it's because there are many customizations. The detail was to change the function of the button to a touch instead of a long press. And it's in these customizations where you can activate the gyroscope so it also simulates the movement of the right finger, which truly works well. The mix of the right stick with the gyroscope works great, especially with the precision of both. You can also activate the force vibration when you press buttons, which is ideal for Android where support is rare. And obviously, you can use all the buttons on the controller. Now, the slider buttons. These are intended for MOBAs, games like League of Legends, Arena of Valor, or Pokemon Unite. It's not my kind of game, but from my lived experience playing Pokemon Unite, what I understand is that there are two types of moves that it helps with. First, when you have to aim where the power goes, for which these buttons work amazingly well. Secondly, where you must press a button and then additional options. You could do it by setting many buttons on the screen, but with this one you can use the same button to select any of the options, and obviously it has 1,000 settings you can customize. With all these features and settings, it will be awful to lose everything when you change phones. So you can create an account to back them up in the cloud, so you can transfer your settings to your new phone. And with the rest of the games that have native controller support, you can use the classic mode. It works very well. We tested it on xCloud and did pretty well. All buttons are in place. The only one that did nothing was the home button. And we tested with Forza Horizon, so not having analog buttons is not ideal. In this mode, it's detected by the gamepad tester, where we can see there is no dead zone. It has a lot of sensitivity. As soon as you touch the sticks, they start to move. When we draw the circle, the left sticks go too deep up to the left. The rest of the corners seem to be fine. And we can see something interesting, and the reason why almost sticks include a bit of dead zone. On the left stick, where it goes back to the center, it keeps marking lower percentages. Normally this happens to older controllers, and that's where drift comes from. But in this case, it's not enough to have an effect on games. We tried it and with Fortnite, where you must disable USB debugging first, or you won't be able to play. But then everything worked as expected. The sticks are the best. Moving and aiming is easy. It only remains to see how much they drift over time. We did the rounding test on Windows, and they have a 10% error rate. Not uncommon. The problem is that it's not centered. The left stick goes too far on the top left corner, and the right stick goes too much to the bottom right. Before jumping to Windows, let's quickly review the buttons and the D-pad. The buttons feels great. They use micro switches and the feeling is perfect. They have little trouble, but a very clear click. C and Z are the only ones that don't sound the same. Also, the shoulder buttons LB and RB feel the same as the Xbox controller, but LT and RT sound completely different. They use different kinds of micro switches. The rest of the buttons feel the same. They also use micro switches. The last thing to mention about the buttons is that apps that support customizations, like RetroArch, are not just limited to the regular ones, it also detects the additional ones. And with this, we finally have a very good controller with 6 face buttons, so you can use them to play N64, Genesis and Sega Saturn. The DPad also uses switches. It's similar to the Xbox One, but more resist. It has little trouble and a fixed pivot point. In the sequence test, it did regular. Sometimes the special moves came out very well, and suddenly nothing, because of the small pivot. But in the accuracy test in Contra, there was no issues. It marks the exact direction and switching to diagonal CCC. Perfect for this kind of game. Just on the sequence, it's not perfect, but it's not garbage, it's quite acceptable. Let's check on Windows. You may have noticed I never mentioned X input. With Bluetooth, it only has the mapping mode and the classic one, both use direct input. This way it also works on Windows, but Flydigi recommends using the USB dongle or connecting it directly with a cable. We connect the dongle and change the controller mode to 2.4 by pressing A and the pairing button. Then it detects it immediately and connects with direct input. In this mode, Windows detects all the buttons, even the additional ones. And if you press the pair button, it activates a mouse mode with gyroscope, although no button worked as a click. In this mode, there are no issues with the Steam games, but won't work for those on Xbox for Windows and the Epic Store. But if you press the select button and the pair button until it shakes, the X input mode is activated, and you can use it in all games. But to use all the features, you need to install the software, which gives you access to a lot of functionality. First, it gives you 4 profiles. In each one, you can customize many things. You can change the rumble level, the RGB color, which helps you to know what profile you are in. You can map the movement of the sliders to any of the analog sticks. You can change what each button does, including the additional ones, with the ability to create macros. You can also adjust the stick's linearity and activate the mapping of the gyro to a stick, and if you need a button to activate it, which the obvious one is LT, or if you want it on all the time. You apply the changes and the 4 profiles are saved in the controller, and you can change them by pressing the pair button and the return button. It works very well. Macros run perfect, button movements are sent to the stick you set, and the gyro will complement the right stick for aiming, only when you press LT, which we tested in Fortnite, and it worked very well. Easily the best implementation we have seen of this feature. The funny thing is that when you apply the changes, the controller always changes to X input. Profiles only work with that protocol. If you use direct input and press the same thing, it just changes the color. But you have both protocols, which is the important part. But there is something else you can do to make it more customizable. This is because it has native support with ReWASD. We have seen this app before as an option to change direct input controllers to X input, but it has support for all Flydigi controllers. In this case, you leave it in direct input mode, and ReWASD can use all the features, including the gyroscope, the additional buttons, and the sliders. And with the option to map to keyboard, mouse, or controller actions, the sky is the limit. The only issue is that it's a paid application, with a free trial if you want to try before buy, but if you play a lot on Windows, it's worth the price. We did the Mr. Controller latency test on most modes, and as we can see, it really doesn't do great. Even connected with USB, the average is about 25 milliseconds. The only thing you gain is the consistency, as you can see with the standard deviation. On wireless modes, the fastest one is Bluetooth, but it's the less stable. To close the video, the official price is $96, a strange number, but like all these Chinese controllers, it's easy to find it cheaper. I paid about $75 with shipping, which is acceptable for a top-level controller for both Android and Windows. It may sound expensive, but if you consider the quality and the additional features, it's a good offer, especially for fans of customization. I know it does not have X input via Bluetooth, but you have the option with the 2.4 adapter. And speaking of the competition, although it's the only controller with slider buttons, if you don't need them, there is also the Vader 2, which doesn't have them but has everything else. Plus, it includes analog triggers and it's a bit cheaper. And the Apex 3, which we will be reviewing very soon. Well, Flydigi really makes pro-level controllers. Not like those guys on Xiaomi that call the controller elite. Want to know what I'm talking about? Click on this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And remember, retro games, modern technology, 0 to 10.